When you know that you are queer, but your favorite drink is beer, that's gayish. You can bottom without stopping, but you can't stand going shopping, that's gayish. Oh, gayish, you're probably gayish. Well, life's just too short for narrow stereotypes, so it's gayish. We're also gayish. It's Gayish with Mike and Kyle. Hello, everyone in the podcast universe. This is Gayish.
The podcast that lifts your soul and puckers your hole.
Oh.
That's from Adam.
Oh, like a lemon.
Thanks, Adam.
I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz.
And we're here to bridge the gap between sexuality and actuality.
Today, it's heavy on the sexuality part.
Oh, my God, Kyle.
We're talking about orgasms.
We're talking about orgasms. I'll have what she's having.
Well, I'll share some data. Maybe you don't watch what she's having.
Oh.
She's not having it.
That's foreshadowing. Uh-huh. Great. Foreplay shadowing.
Yeah.
No. But first. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. You thrashed me one more time again in the poll.
Yes, I beat you at the poll.
Yeah.
Orgasms.
Speaking of orgasms, beat that poll.
Beat that poll.
Spell poll.
I beat you at the polls and got a double win on both the gap bridger vote and the tiebreaker vote.
That's not true.
That's not true?
You only selected one topic this month because you won last month.
Right, but I beat you at both the polls. Orgasms.
Sorry. I mentioned it for both episodes.
No.
We're doing U equals U for the Patreon monthly bonus episode.
Yes.
That was mine. Yeah.
That was yours.
Got
yes, you did get one. You slipped one in there.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I got first non-winner.
Yes, exactly. Which is called our Patreon bonus episode.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
We talked enough now.
Okay.
I guess. I just always feel so weird when we go immediately into the news because we don't have any feedback or corrections because nobody's listening. It's a fucking vacuum of space out there.
We could read more feedback if we wanted to, but...
Don't care.
Okay.
I just want to ramble at the beginning for a little bit to make them wait for it.
Yeah.
The anticipation. Here's the news. Shut your mouth hole. It's time for your ear holes. News. News the first. A federal judge on Wednesday granted a partial injunction against Idaho's law prohibiting the use of public funds and facilities to provide gender-affirming care.
There are lots of negatives in this. Is this good or bad for us?
It is good for us.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it's showing up. I don't see any squiggles about it.
All right.
But that's not true.
If you hear chomping in the background, I'm taking care of a dog, and she's hungry right now. After not eating at all for 3 days, she's hungry right now. Yeah. Okay, great. The lawsuit, Robinson versus Labrador, was filed by two...
Labrador?
Yeah.
Cute.
Nom, nom, nom.
Nom, nom, nom.
Was filed by two trans inmates.
Wow.
So here's what the most interesting part about this. States everywhere are no trans people, no bathrooms, no doctors for you. All of this horrible shit. In this case, though, it was over whether the state of Idaho could deny gender-affirming care to incarcerated criminals. And so... basically, it's over whether denying them continued care, they were already under care, they were already whatever their plan was medically, they were already doing it. And they sued the American Civil Liberties Union of Idaho sued, saying that to then just without any warning or care of a doctor or oversight to just stop giving them whatever medication that they're on and stop giving them their gender affirming care is a violation of their 8th Amendment rights, which that prohibits cruel and unusual punishment in the United States.
Okay. You don't hear about the 8th Amendment as much.
Right.
It's not as popular as the first one.
Yeah. You know what? I wonder, is gayish allowed under the 8th Amendment? You tell us, everyone. You're the one listening. Maybe that mitigates the claim. Anyway,
your fault.
But a federal judge in Boise narrowly ruled against the law and granted trans inmates in Idaho class action status.
Great.
Quote, plaintiffs have raised serious questions going to the merits of their claim. They have shown likely irreparable harm from enforcement of the act, and the balance of equities and public interest weigh in the plaintiffs' favor. That was Chief U.S. District Court Judge David C. Nye. It was a 28-page opinion, which I'll start reading right now.
This is our episode.
Yeah. But
the government shouldn't make decisions about your medical care.
Right.
Like stopping treatment of something should be under the care of a doctor.
Yeah. That Christian asshole, let's face it, straight white dude, is not a doctor.
Right.
The Bible, not a doctor either.
Nope.
Jesus, not a doctor.
Say what you will about Jesus. Didn't have a doctorate.
Yeah. So yeah, like stop getting between people and whatever is going on with their doctor. And that includes their reproductive care. That includes their gender affirming care, like cancer care. I don't give a fuck what it is. Maybe let's let the doctors do their doctoring.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, so it's interesting. It is a narrow ruling. It only applies to inmates in Idaho. The rest of the state is still fucked. Sorry, Idahoans.
Wait, you said it only applies to Idaho.
Idahoans?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the rest of the state? But if it applies to all the Idaho, isn't that good?
No. It only applies to inmates in Idaho.
Inmates in Idaho. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So the rest of the state is still fucked. But if you're in prison, maybe consider committing a crime to get your hormones. Oh, no. That's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I'll keep an eye on this story. It is still, it's just an injunction while it works its way through the courts, but it is interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready for news of the second?
Yeah.
This one, I'm not going to do a trigger warning, but maybe should. But just so I already did by saying I wasn't going to.
Yeah, kind of.
So there was this shooting in Georgia, and a 14-year-old boy in Georgia is accused of killing 4 people in a mass shooting. And the reason I'm bringing it up in the news here is that the father of Colt Gray, which is the name of the 14-year-old boy who is accused of killing all of those people, Colin Gray, who's 54 years old, was taken into custody and charged with providing the firearm used in the killings. Both father and son were denied bail and remain in custody, but apparently newly released transcripts of the interrogation that the police conducted against Colin and Colt indicate that the dad he was defending his son by claiming that he had been accused of being gay by classmates. So basically it's like the reverse gay panic defense or something. Like the dad is like, well, of course he wouldn't shut up the place. Everybody thought he was gay.
Wow. What a weird excuse for a shooting.
Yeah, like that doesn't justify that. It's like it's a clusterfuck of fuckery, right?
Yeah,
The idea that like, yeah, kids are awful, and yeah, I'm sure that on the playground in certain parts of the country, being accused of being gay is like the kiss of death, especially at 14. Fuck that noise.
Yeah.
Also, then does not justify murder.
No,
right?
like how is that your reaction as a dad to be like, oh, I hear about that. Here, let me provide you with a firearm.
Right. Yeah. Well, apparently the firearm was a Christmas present. So police indicated
Merry fucking Christmas.
The police have visited the home numerous times in the past and issued warnings saying that his son should not have access to firearms. Yeah. But apparently he gave the gun that was used in the killing as a Christmas present.
Wow. And even after warnings, that's like one of those things that's like, it's not that no one saw this coming.
Yeah. Well, and it is gun culture. This like weird broken masculinity that if you say that guns are necessary and you love them and you have them around your house and easy access to them, you are saying that it is a viable solution to problems.
Yeah.
So if you're a teenager whose brain is not done cooking yet and is a real dum-dum because of hormones or whatever, there's a problem. I'm sure it feels fucking terrible, whether it should or not. I have a solution to that problem. It is my parents' culture that they've built up that says that guns are a solution to problems.
Yeah.
And I don't see how you can really be like honest and not hold the parents culpable.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, fuck guns, man. The
Yeah.
Second Amendment's the worst shit that ever happened to this country, and I stand by that.
Yeah, I agree.
Great. News the third. I have been lately trying to keep celebrity news out of the news because I don't know. I feel like we're past it now or
this
something.
This isn't that kind of podcast.
Right. Yeah. And Ben Platt did just get married, but anyway.
Oh, okay.
But I thought
Good for him.
this one just really makes me happy. So comedian Will Ferrell is being widely commended online following the release of a trailer for his new Netflix documentary Will and Harper. So Will Ferrell and Harper Steele, they first became friends 30 years ago when when Will joined the cast of Saturday Night Live, and at the time Harper Steele was SNL's head writer and was presenting Mail at that stage. And so this Netflix documentary is about Harper coming out to Will Ferrell, and they decided to take a road trip together and film the whole thing and turn it into a documentary. And apparently it is just it's being lauded as sort of what you should do when a trans person comes out to you who is your friend in your life. So someone on the internet wrote, quote, "In a world full of J.K. Rowlings, be a Will Ferrell." I really, really, really want to watch it. It's going to stream on Netflix starting the 27th of September, but it is also available in select cinemas starting this weekend. So
got to get that Oscar potential.
Maybe. Can you get an Oscar for just documentaries though? Like, is that a real Oscar?
Sure.
Anyway, it's really interesting. One of my favorite things from the trailer, and I hope there are more moments like this, but they're having this real like serious. Will asks Harper, "Are you a worse driver now that you're a woman?" And she's like, "Oh my God, that's fucking terrible. Fuck you, that's terrible." But yeah, I am. I just think it's great. Anyway, I plan on seeing it. I'll report back how I feel about it when I do, if I remember to, which I won't. That's the news.
That's the news. Speaking of people we'll report back on if we remember it, I want to thank the following new Patreon member, Mad Max.
Mad Max?
Yeah.
Beyond Thunderdome.
Fury Road.
Yeah. I hope you're not anti-Semitic.
Is that what that movie was about?
No, but that Australian guy that used to be famous that we canceled. The original Mad Max. No, older than that.
Okay. I don't know. No, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
He was fucking. He was Braveheart. You know that guy.
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson was the original Mad Max, and like we hate him now.
Oh right. Okay.
I took my pills. I promise, Kyle.
This was not about you, Mad Max. This was a side tangent between just me and Mike. Thank you to Mad Max.
Thanks, Mad Max.
If you want bonus episodes, bonus segments, if you want
to use my hole,
to use Mike's hole, ad-free episodes daily, go to patreon.com/Gayish podcast.
Do it.
Do you want to talk about orgasms?
Do I?
Do you? I hope you do.
Okay, Kyle.
What?
Orgasms. So this was, you weren't just the one that wanted this.
I was not the only one that wanted this. Lots of people wanted orgasms.
Right.
There was a survey request for us to talk about orgasms, which is, on our big list that we have. And I picked it off our big list. So thank you to the person that requested this.
Yeah. Thank you to the person who requested this. Okay. So Kyle.
Yeah.
You're going to fucking roll your eyes at me, and I can just feel it before it even happens.
What is an orgasm?
What is an orgasm? Do you know it's actually hard to define?
Yeah, it's that feeling of, when you jerk off.
Well, okay. Great.
I've defined it.
You did it. You did it. So it's weirdly hard to define.
Why?
Well, because usually we refer to orgasm as the act of male ejaculation.
Oh.
Without really looking into the other kinds of orgasms and the way that they differ, and the fact that you can ejaculate without having an orgasm. You can have an orgasm without ejaculating.
Yeah.
You also might not make sperm at all, and then you still have an orgasm. Why? There are people who say that they have anal orgasms in which they experience spasming of the anal muscle, the sphincter. Does that count when that's not related to urogenital response at all? Like, it's a lot, Kyle. And then there's tantric orgasms, which apparently like there's no like throbby fun part to that. It's just this like heightened euphoric ecstasy feeling. Like there's lots of different kinds of things that get labeled orgasm, and I want to know what we're talking about here.
All of it. Let's talk about all of it.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah.
Well, what did you want to talk about?
Yeah. No. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about all of it.
But mainly the feeling of awe when you jerk off is the main one.
The feeling of ah.
Yeah.
Great. That's a technical term, right?
Yeah. It's in my technical Kyle's definitions.
So if I talk to you about the history of orgasms, what we're really talking about is the biological evolution of orgasms. And I wanted to start at the top of the show by saying that there's going to be a lot of stuff today that we're going to talk about, where we're going to be talking about penises and vaginas, and we're going to be talking about prostates and testicles, and we're going to be talking about ovaries. And I'm not worried, but I just want to remind everyone that you can have a perfectly rational and sane discussion about biological sex and reproductive organs, and it is way easier, instead of saying it the long way, to say like male body parts and female body parts. But none of that is gender. Like I just want to remind everybody that that's not the same thing.
Yeah, that's smart.
So, but there's a lot of, especially when we start talking about animals and the evolution of all of this stuff, there's like not a lot of trans animals, Kyle, turns out.
How do we know?
Right. Yeah. So mammals all have something similar to what we would call orgasm, in that...
We don't call it orgasm?
Well, that's tricky.
Oh.
But there can be like a flushing that happens. There can be elevated heart rate. There can be spasmodic or rhythmic contraction of the pelvic floor. And then there's also, in the case of biologically male animals, ejaculation that occurs.
That sounds like an orgasm to me.
Now, what? Yeah, me too.
Okay,
me too. What's interesting when we start looking at that? Do you have a guess for which mammal has the longest orgasm?
A pig.
That's correct. How do you know that?
Just a random piece of information. Someone's like, they orgasm for like 30 minutes or something like that.
Did it reflect in my glasses? They have corkscrewed penises, which I think is adorable.
Sometimes I just know facts, Mike.
I know. Okay. All right. Great. On average, their orgasm lasts 30 minutes, but it can last for as long as 90 minutes.
Damn. Man, I got shit to do. I don't got time for that.
Right. Can you imagine? I think... The conversation that is really confusing, or that like we have to like bear down on, is sex for pleasure, and orgasms are widely believed to have evolved in females, in women, human cis women, because of pleasure, and all of it is tied to reproduction, and then somehow orgasm becomes independently pleasurable.
You're talking about because the value, like evolutionarily, the value of an orgasm is for a dude to jerk off and get his jizz into a woman to get her pregnant. So why would a woman have an orgasm? What's the evolutionary point?
Why would a woman have an orgasm? What's the evolutionary point? And what are the evolutionary pressures that led men, biological men, to have orgasms? So like the physiological stuff that happens is about like getting the jizz out, exactly as you said. That doesn't mean it had to be pleasurable.
Right.
And there are lots of animals that like clearly a lot of that orgasm-y stuff happens, but they don't seem to be pleasure motivated by it. It's just a thing that happens to them when they're ejaculating. And primates have a lot of behaviors that suggest that it's for more than just reproduction. Bonobos. They have sex for pleasure. They have sex indiscriminately with regard to gender. They
fuck.
They use sex as a conflict resolution tactic in their society. So at some point, it became not just about getting the jizz out, but also wired to social behavior and wired to pleasure centers in the brain.
Right.
And
isn't in evolution, a lot of times it's easier if like you develop something in one gender, just do it for all of them.
So that's one of the theories, right? That like the reason that women have orgasms, the reason that females have orgasms is it's like why dudes have nipples. Like it actually is expensive, evolutionarily expensive to delete nipples from males. So just give everybody nipples and then only make the female ones work.
Right.
So there is that idea that maybe that female orgasm is just vestigial in that way. Like they have orgasms because we're biologically similar enough that deleting it is cost prohibitive.
Right.
There are some other thoughts. One thought, Terry Lodey wrote A Brief Natural History of the Orgasm, and it appeared in All Life, which is a journal that I don't know if it's peer-reviewed or not because I'm less good at this than you. But who said that, quote, first, because the orgasm is associated with ejaculation in males and with orgasmic expulsions from ovarian and urethral glands in females, the sexual orgasm could originate from the ancestral reflex of gametes release in both sexes. To translate, female orgasm used to matter. Basically, like from a reproductive standpoint, that she was like slurping it up in there, and that's why there's this contraction that happens. And that even though as humans and other primates moved towards walking erect, and that changed the physical arrangement of parts in such a way that rhythmic orgasmic reaction wasn't necessary anymore. She doesn't have to slurp the cum anymore. It just goes up in there.
Man, so hot.
Related to that is like human penises are actually really, really big compared to the rest of their body size compared to other primates.
Mine sure is.
Yeah. Where am I going with this, Kyle?
Why orgasm? Why are orgasms?
Why are orgasms? Oh, the other thing is just like fucking misogyny in science. That like the idea, like we've been so focused, thanks Victorians, on like where the penis goes and where the jizz is happening that we totally have ignored female reproductive health for centuries now. Yeah. And that we might not have really looked into it as much as we should.
I mean, couldn't part of the reason be that rewarding something that is evolutionarily beneficial, like getting that jizz, is useful? So if you get an orgasm from fucking, then that makes you want to get fucked more often. So it could encourage you to have more sex, which is useful.
Yeah. Well, except that sort of shoots a hole in the like monogamous partnership arguments about like that because human fetuses gestate for 10 months, and so it's a very slow cycle, and human pregnant females are like not as able to defend themselves or gather resources, that necessitates a stable mated pair that is sort of at loggerheads with what you just said of like orgasms make you want to fuck more, so you fuck more.
Yeah. A lot of yours sounds like some misogyny bullshit.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Anyway, I don't know, Kyle. We orgasm and it feels good, and there's lots of like theories as to why, and I don't really like any of them. But it's not just about ejaculation, and it's not just about making the jizz, and women have orgasms just as much as we do, and they're super fun.
Yeah.
Orgasms for everyone.
That's in summary, they're super fun. Should I tell you some of the data?
Yeah, tell me the data.
Do women have orgasms just as much as men? That's the question. This is called Differences in Orgasm Frequency Among Gay, Lesbian, Bisexual, Heterosexual Men and Women in U.S. National Sample. This is by David A. Frederick, H. Kate St. John, Justin R. Garcia, and Elizabeth A. Lloyd. They were all like, let's do middle names on this one.
Yeah, sure.
Why not? 2017, and it came out in the Archives of Sexual Behavior, a peer-reviewed academic journal.
Great.
And they noticed, or they pointed out in the introduction, there's a gap between heterosexual men and women in frequency of orgasms during sex. Yeah. So do you know in which way?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it?
All dudes have orgasms, and like lots of ladies don't.
Yep. And why do you think that would be? What's your...
Well, okay, so the perhaps just misogyny, I don't know, but the narrative is that women don't like sex, that in order to enjoy sex, it has to be very particular, and that it takes them a long time to get there. Meanwhile, dudes totally love to jizz, and it happens pretty quick for them, and because they don't care about their lady's pleasure, they just get off and then get off.
Yeah.
And that's not enough for her, so she doesn't come.
Yeah, totally.
Is that true? Is that what you're going to tell me?
Oh, no, I don't know. I don't know why.
You just... I love the game where you make me guess something and then I don't get to find out if it's right.
No, all of those are like true stereotypes of men and women and how their sex goes. So yeah.
Okay. You know who I bet has it figured out?
Who?
The lesbians. They get shit done.
Do you want? We'll figure out if lesbians have orgasms as often.
All right, great. Let's do it.
That's Mike's guess. We'll have to circle back to that. They looked at orgasms of people while sexually intimate during the past month. So not jerking off. This is when you're with a partner.
Okay.
Or partners, I guess. So in order of most likely to least likely to orgasm while sexually intimate. Number 1.
Gay dudes.
Heterosexual men.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay.
At 95%.
Okay. All right. Great.
That's... If you're a straight dude having sex, you're probably going to orgasm.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Next is gay men at 89%.
Oh, okay.
Close behind is bisexual men at 88%.
Is the implication there that gay sex is harder?
That you're less likely to orgasm when you're gay. I don't always orgasm when I have sex.
I don't always orgasm when I have sex either, but that wasn't the question.
Yeah, but most people do by a wide margin. So I don't know.
All right. Continue.
Or did people feel like, I don't know. Yeah, bisexual men at 88%, lesbian women at 86%.
Okay.
So they're close up there.
Right up there with the gay dudes.
Right up there with the gay dudes. Bisexual women at 66%.
I didn't know if bisexuals were going to make this list. That's fantastic. Okay. It's less fantastic apparently in the orgasm department, but by ladies, what's going on?
That is 20 percentage points lower than lesbian women. And heterosexual women, the least at 65%. But still very close to bisexual women. 66 for bis and 65 for heteros.
Missing from the list by dudes. Why is that?
No, I said it.
Where?
Up at gay men 89%, bisexual men 88%.
Okay, great.
Missing from this list is Mike listening to me.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, yeah, bi and straight women were the least likely by a wide margin. And is it when you have sex with a dude, they also evaluated what things led to higher likelihood of having an orgasm.
Okay.
What things happen that contribute to higher likelihood of having an orgasm.
Let's get down to the root cause.
Women, or at least like things you can do that help.
I see you, Australia.
Women.
It's an Australian slang for fucking root.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead.
Women who were more likely to orgasm more frequently were more likely to do these things on the following list. Receive more oral sex.
Okay.
Isn't that seems obvious?
That seems the stereotype, but maybe it's true. Okay.
What stereotype?
That like you gotta warm her kitty up.
Oh, I hated that you said it that way. And also it's someone that cares about her pleasure.
Sure.
To perform oral sex on hers.
Sure.
They are more likely to have longer duration of sex.
Sure.
To be more satisfied with their relationship.
Okay. I mean, that seems cause versus effect, maybe.
True. To ask for what they want in bed.
Okay.
That seems like a big thing.
Yeah.
To praise their partner for something they did in bed.
That's very specific. How do they measure this? Okay. Yeah,
I'm guessing they have like, which of the following did you do, and had like a big list.
Yeah.
That's my guess. Call or email to tease about doing something sexual.
Okay. What?
Email.
Email?
You didn't email.
When was this study?
Yeah, exactly. 2017. No, you texted. You didn't call or email.
Yeah, in 2017. That's probably right.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
No, or Grindred, or Facebook messaged, or Instagram, Wait, okay. Before we move on from that, do you like sexy talk?
Yeah.
Like anticipatory, future focused sexy talk
Yeah.
virtually.
Yeah, yeah. And in fact, I usually need some of that. I need a little bit of that before I hook up with someone. Like on Sniffies, like I want to talk a little bit about what we're going to do. And that also helps set expectations and understanding. So when we're in person, I know what you like and are into and what you want to do.
Great. Okay. Yeah.
You like it, right?
Very much so. Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, it's super important to me. Mostly, although I don't think that that's, so some of that is just like a feeling of connection and blah, 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 which is very much my vibe. But also, like, especially in a relationship, oh God, here we go. In a relationship, when you're like in the, like, you're in it, like you're living the life of being in a relationship together, it's very hard to know when you like, someone comes home from work and then you're like cooking dinner together and then you're like cleaning up and doing the dishes and then you turn on whatever show you're binging together. It's very hard to know when in all of that to be like, now the sexy time is happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's very difficult, I think, compared to like when you're preparing an online hookup or somebody that you only ever see like in a sexual context, or it's more, it happens more organically or something. I don't know what I'm circling around, but like, it's just hard to know when to interrupt normal everyday life with sex. And this helps.
Yeah.
To be like, I would like this later, please. Or whatever. Like that I think helps with the, when do you inject sexy time?
When do you inject your dick into me? It's almost like, but what you're describing is almost like a way to schedule it without doing it the boring way.
Right.
To be like, hey, you want to do
Tuesday
this to
at
me,
8.
lady? Yeah. So you can kind of schedule it in a way that sounds more exciting and sexual.
Yeah.
They were also, women who orgasm more frequently were also more likely to wear sexy lingerie, try new sexual positions, more likely to try anal stimulation.
Ooh. Okay.
Getting dirty.
So all of those things is just like a personality that says sexually experimental.
I think willing to try stuff sexually, willing to put yourself out there sexually, willing to ask for what you want, willing to invest in it.
Yeah. Okay.
To act out fantasies, more likely to incorporate sexy talk, and more likely to express love during sex. That one is sweet. If you express love, maybe you don't have to be in love, but if you express love while you have sex, you're more likely to orgasm.
Is that what the song Show Me Love is about?
Show me love so that I can come.
Mm-hmm.
Men, smaller list, but men were more likely to orgasm if they incorporated the following.
The penis.
Their dick. A mini massage or back rub.
Okay.
Didn't expect that. Don't know what I expected, but I didn't know that would help get you there.
It's interesting. I have no proof here. There's no science here. Mm-hmm. I feel like there are people who come when they are wound up, and then there are people who can't unless they relax. Mm. And I'm solidly in the second camp. Mm. And I think a massage would probably help with the like relaxing part. And so that checks out for me. And I don't think it would hurt the people who are like in the intense orgasm camp.
Right. Like, I don't think it would do any. I think it'd be nice. I like, a massage feels good, but I don't know that they would help me orgasm. More likely to orgasm if they took a shower or bath with their partner. Okay.
I think that's more relaxation stuff, I think.
More relaxation or a little bit more foreplay, because you're probably, you can fuck in the shower, but it's a little bit more difficult. So it's like...
Water is not lube, everybody.
Water makes it difficult for lube to stick. And more likely to orgasm if they incorporated a date night to make sure they had planned sexual activity. Yeah. Which is kind of what you're describing. Like, not the date night necessarily, but like make sure it's planned so they know in advance.
Yeah. It's funny because this says... I have therapy tomorrow. It is way easier to text something sexy than it is to say something sexy like at dinner.
Oh, for sure.
And I wonder what that's about.
There's something like you're behind your walls a little bit of a computer screen or a phone that you can like, you don't have the embarrassment of like, what if they don't react right? Like, what if, you can kind of hide from their reaction or the possibility of embarrassment a little bit more.
Yeah. Wild. Okay.
Yeah. So all in all, straight men having the most orgasms, bi and straight women having the least number of orgasms. Yeah, that's not true. Not necessarily overall. Maybe they're pleasuring themselves all day long, but this is just at least when hooking up with a partner.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let us know if that's your experience.
Yeah.
Dear listener.
Especially bi and straight women.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's fuck this up, Kyle.
Okay, sure. Why not?
I want to talk to you about orgasms for trans people.
Oh, interesting.
I am not a doctor.
Uh-huh.
I'm like Jesus.
You like Jesus.
Not a doctor.
Are not a doctor. You're also not a transologist.
I'm not a transologist. I am not a doctor. I am not trans.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that makes all of this scary. But I do want to talk to you about what I found out about people having orgasms after bottom surgery.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
In both directions, female to male and male to female bottom surgery. Which isn't it? It's also, I'm just realizing this now, isn't it kind of messed up that we call it male to female or female to male bottom surgery when like there's so many non-binary people and like, I don't know. Anyway,
it's hard to like put names on these things to accurately describe them in a way that helps people while also not being offensive.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's just difficult to talk about sometimes. So.
Well, so I ran into a dude on Grindr in, I think it was Los Angeles. I forget because I travel all the time and I'm all over the place. And one of the ways that I entertain myself is hopping on the apps when I'm at the airport because airports make me horny. I don't know. Anyway, and he told me, I did not meet this person, might have been just feeding me a line, who fucking knows, but it blew me away when he said that he'd had some kind of accident. It was like a botched circumcision or some other kind of an accident, so that he had opted to have a vaginoplasty. So like some part of his anatomy was damaged in such a way that he opted to have them turn it into a vagina instead of what he was left with after this accident had happened. He was cis male, but had a vagina. And so even that like complicates this idea that like he's not MTF, he's male and opted for a vagina given the medical options that he had at the time when all of this went down.
Wow. A cis man with a vagina is not something I had considered before.
Right. Right. And yet here we are.
Yeah.
Well, assuming that wasn't just bullshit.
Yeah.
Because people lie online, but
for what?
Whether he was lying or not, it is not inconceivable that would be a thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about trans men first.
Okay.
Well, no, before I go into all of this, have you ever thought about like? Well, I'll say what's true for me, and then you can like respond.
Okay.
I have had the thought before. If you have bottom surgery, in whichever direction, are we good enough at it as a medical institution that it works?
Yeah.
Like, obviously you can't have babies now and you can't ejaculate now, but are all the other functions of reproductive organs, does it work?
Yeah. Yeah. I for sure thought that and then been like, you know what? And it's none of my business.
Right.
And then I move on with my day.
Right. But also, the episode is orgasms. I also think that like if giving up orgasms was part of what you had to consider, I don't know. I don't want to give up orgasms.
Yeah. That's a big, yeah. But then we've also never had the gender dysphoria that we have to wrestle deciding between those things. Or do you even have to decide between? I don't know. You're going to tell me.
Yeah, here we go. So let's talk about trans men. So all of this is a gross oversimplification, but there are a couple of ways to have a penis as a trans man. And there's metoidioplasty and phalloplasty. And metoidioplasty is basically clit enlargement. So which happens naturally as part of testosterone therapy, but then also you can lengthen the clitoris by cutting some ligaments that then make the clit stick out more, and in that case, and then they may or may not have additional surgery to remove or close up their vagina. There are lots of options beyond that, but just focusing on the clit and clit enlargement, apparently that results in a penis that is 5 to 6 centimeters at most in length, and in a lot of cases that's too small for penetrative sex, but it is not out of the question. But people with metoidioplasty basically have no change in their level of sexual arousal and orgasm beyond what testosterone already does to change their libido. So 97 participants in one study who had undergone metoidioplasty reported complete satisfaction with the quality of erection and sensation, and there were 0 reports of any issues with arousal or orgasm.
Wow. 0. That's wild.
Yeah, and not only that, sexual satisfaction with their partners increased from 50% to 81%. Orgasm frequency increased from 45% to 77%. Frequent sexual arousal increased from 40% to 60%, and even the rate of masturbation increased from 20% to 78%.
Wow!
So that simple act of gender confirmation resulted in like dramatic improvements in satisfaction with sex life and orgasms.
Kind of across the board, across all these different areas. That's so. I have to imagine there's, it's beyond just the actual parts. It's feeling more confident in yourself and who you are, and having less struggles with other medical issues. Like all of that probably leads itself to higher likelihood to have a good sex life.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other like how to make a penis is called phalloplasty, and according to Johns Hopkins, they create a penis out of skin from a donor site, typically from the arm or the leg or the back. And they use skin, fat, nerves, and blood vessels to create a penis. And then they lengthen the urethra. They create the glands or tip of the penis. They create a scrotum. They remove the vagina. They insert testicular and erectile implants. May or may not. Sorry. All of that is separate from removing the ovaries or the uterus. Now, nerve quality is very different depending on where they get the material to make the penis. And so if people want sensation, they may choose the arm, as like there's a lot of nerves in your arm. If you think about like where you can feel touch on your body, your back is likely less sensitive than like this part of your arm. On your forearm. I'm stroking my arm for Kyle. So if sensation is what you're looking for, then they might choose the arm as the donor site because there's the most nerves there. But there are fewer nerves in the legs, and if people use the back as a donor site, they are unlikely to have any sensation at all. But then there are different complication factors, and you might not have the option. It just depends on your medical situation. But then they do nerve hookup, and that allows you to have sensation. They just rewire your nerves.
Sure, that's as easy as that.
But then, at least according to Johns Hopkins University, if penetrative sex and maintaining an erection are important, people can have an erectile prosthetic. And then once that is added, and you can then maintain an erection because of this erectile prosthetic device, then whether you do that or not, it's possible to have an orgasm after phalloplasty. Now, the numbers aren't as good as clit enlargement, but you still can. There's a bunch of asterisk, but it is entirely possible to build a penis, hook up the nerves, and have an orgasm.
Wow.
Which is wild. The other thing to consider it just depends on like gender dysphoria and all of that. With phalloplasty, you can have a penis between 5 and 6 inches. So,
wow. You could have a penis that's above the average size of a penis.
Yep. Yep.
Good for you.
Yep. Okay. So now let's talk about trans women. This is wild to me. So there are 3 options for lower for bottom surgery for trans women. That's orchidectomy. That's the removal of the testicles. You can just do that regardless of whatever else you do. And then there's vaginoplasty, which removes the penis, testicles, and scrotum and creates a vaginal canal and labia with that material. And the surgeon will also create a clit using a portion of the gland's penis.
Oh.
Then vulvoplasty. This creates a vulva, including the mons pubis, labia, clitoris, and urethral opening. People may opt for this surgery if they are uninterested in receptive vaginal sex or do not wish to maintain the dilation and aftercare regime necessary after vaginoplasty. People may also refer to this option as minimal depth vaginoplasty. So basically, it's a clit and a urethra to pee out of, but no.
It's for looks.
It's for but no, like you can't actually put anything in there.
Yeah.
Now with vaginoplasty, and this is the part that really like blew me away. With vaginoplasty, they can make a clitoris from the head of the penis, and if the surgery is successful and they wire up the nerves properly, you can have a full-on regular clitoral orgasm, just like you could as a cis man, just by rubbing like the underside of the head of the penis.
Okay. I'm trying to picture all this, where everything goes and how it works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's also like a average vaginal depth after a vaginoplasty is 4 to 6 inches. But the average depth of a cis female's vagina is from 3.5 to 5 inches. So you also end up with like a bigger vagina than average.
It could be deeper than average. Wow. Penises can be bigger than average. Vags can be deeper than average.
But because they basically turn the penis inside out and put it on the inside, and there are some nerves near the head of the penis that end up on the inside, furthest inside part, there's actually 2 places where there are nerves that can lead to orgasm.
Oh, you double my chances.
Double your chances. Yes.
This is one of the benefits they don't talk about.
Also interesting, after a vaginoplasty, you have to use a vaginal dilator to stretch the canal and keep it open, because if you just have the surgery and basically don't use it, it will start to atrophy. So some people need to dilate twice a day for a minimum of 15 minutes to keep their vagina open.
It's a lot of vagercise.
It's vagercise. That was a very long-winded way of telling you that both MTF and FTM bottom surgery patients can have orgasm after having their surgery.
Wow. That's great. That's really exciting.
I forgot about the success part.
Oh.
Vaginoplasty, a 2017 study, 84 participants had rectosigmoid vaginoplasty, and they found that 79 participants had had sexual intercourse and that 72 had experienced orgasm. So the percent, like whatever 72 and 84 is, that's pretty good chances.
Yeah.
And then a 2016 study of 22 people who had undergone a vaginoplasty and clitoroplasty found that 86% could experience orgasm after surgery. And a research from 2017 involving 28 trans women found that pressure and vibration provided the best results for genital sensitivity after gender-affirming surgery. So both ways. I guess I had just assumed that the answer was no. Yeah. That like it was all for looks, and basically after surgery there wasn't much that you were going to have in terms of sexual function. Man, was I fucking wrong.
Yeah.
Totally wrong. And I think maybe that's just some transphobic horse shit that I let get stuck in my brain that really didn't belong there.
Or you just don't know the medicine. Like, it's surprising to know what medicine can accomplish, and you just didn't know the medicine behind it, and now you do.
Yeah.
It sucks that these are parts of the conversation that we should be having about your sexual health when you're a trans person, because that's an important part of everyone's life. And we don't get to have those conversations because we're not even to that point yet. Of course, we don't talk about whether you can have an orgasm if you're trans undergoing surgery, because we barely can even have the conversation about being trans at all.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Before we exit this segment, I also want to say that trans people don't owe us bottom surgery to be valid in their gender.
Yeah.
That's another thing that like lots of countries struggle with their laws around all of this. Like there are places where you can't change your gender marker on your identification unless you've undergone gender confirmation surgery. All of that's utter horseshit. Let people like whatever you want, as long as you're happy, whatever you want downstairs is perfectly all right and valid.
And your own business.
And your own business.
And not anyone else's.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Ask Reddit.
Yeah. Okay.
Here's the question. Can gay men truly physically orgasm from anal sex?
Oh, man. Okay, Kyle.
I'm a straight cis woman, and the question has been on my mind. For cis women, anal isn't physically pleasurable, but someone...
Okay. Stop right there, Reddit person. You don't speak for all women.
But some find it pleasurable in some other ways that I don't understand, like a mental feeling probably. Is it the same for gay men, or can you physically reach an orgasm through anal sex?
Okay. No, I cannot.
If the question is whether Mike can or not.
I did read about anal orgasms a little bit.
You did?
And how like everyone's pretty much in agreement that the prostate is how and why that happens so much more easily for biologically male people.
Yeah.
Prostate havers. Mm-hmm. But I also read, and this was fascinating to me, that there might be some narrow pathway rewiring that is necessary for it to be pleasurable. Like there legit might, for a segment of the population, be it's not fun yet. That experimentation and practice can legit rewire your brain in such a way that it becomes immensely pleasurable when it wasn't before.
Yeah, I had to go through that. There was a long time where my butthole wasn't big enough to be fun, and then I had to relearn that it is fun now.
Great.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
You should write a how-to or something.
I did.
Okay, great.
I've published it.
Great.
It's called How to Bottom when you're thinking of bottoming or something like that.
Great.
So here are some of the responses as to whether men can come through their ass.
Oh, God.
Come
through Reddit.
Men can come from anal sex, and there's even an askgasm thing that feels like a whole body orgasm instead of just coming.
Okay, this is what's an orgasm thing.
Does that count? One of the replies to that comment was this: "Thank you, Doug, for that epic night of sex." So I feel like if there's an askgasm, I certainly haven't had that. I've had my prostate hit so well that I felt so good that I had to make them stop.
That's fun.
It is. I wish I would have powered through though in retrospect
and seen what would happen.
Yeah.
So, oh man. Okay. So only one time when I was bottoming, I had like my whole spasmed, and it was nice.
Huh.
But also I was like, what is happening? And like, I didn't like lean in. I kind of like fought it, I guess, a little bit, but I don't know if that doesn't sound like what they're describing here though. It could have just been, I don't know, an itch. I don't know.
Did it feel good?
Yeah, it felt good. Oh. I was like, oh, this is kind of like, it's kind of like the physical sensation of an orgasm is that like contracting of your pelvic floor. And it felt like that, but just the whole part, nothing else. And so I was like, oh, this feels like a third of an orgasm or something.
Mike, did you have a little anal orgasm?
I guess so, but like it didn't. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Huh. Someone else said yes. They usually start leaking from prostate stimulation. So that's another thing that can happen from hitting your prostate. This is where you talked about like ejaculation does not always equal orgasm, and orgasm doesn't always equal ejaculation. You can start like ejaculating stuff from your prostate being stimulated.
Sure.
Even without an orgasm.
Well, and like there's also like people who have to have their prostate squozen.
Oh.
Like it's the same thing. Like pushing on it, squeezing it, milking it can like make the juices come out of there. So like
hot.
It could be a dick just as well as it could be fingers.
Yeah.
Or a poker or whatever.
Maybe a vibrator or something. Someone said, I have done this many times in my life and I can vouch that it is one of the most incredible sensations ever. Which that makes me feel left out. Someone else said I can, and it ruined all other sex for me.
Oh, well, okay.
See, this is the part where I feel like I'm missing out on part of the anal experience.
Everything that anyone has ever said to me was going to be mind-blowing and life-changing wasn't when I actually experienced it. And I imagine this will be the same.
Okay, that's true. They're building it up so much it can never.
But I'm super cynical, so...
Yeah. Someone else said, yep, and not just gay men.
Sure.
Someone replied, normalize straight bottoms, like Shawn Mendes. And that's why I picked this Reddit to read.
Great.
So there's a whole school of, you talked about...
Spell hole.
There's a whole school of askgasms that it's just a world I don't know about. So listener, you'll have to write in if you've had one and explain if it really does change and ruin sex for you.
I did read an article in Psychology Today, and it was related to a conversation I read about National Orgasm Day.
Oh, I didn't realize. Did we miss it?
We missed it. It was on July 31st.
Oh, okay.
But in the UK, Australia, the US, the Netherlands, Canada, and South Africa, July 31st is National Orgasm Day.
Why isn't it worldwide? Who decides that it's just those countries?
I don't know. It was actually created in Brazil as International Female Orgasm Day on August 8th.
Oh, my God.
And that's still a thing. So chicks get 2 days.
Good. They need them. Based on the numbers, they need it.
Anyway, but their whole thing about like what counts as orgasms or whatever is what got me going on that. But there are 3 kinds of what they call spontaneous orgasms, and the first type is not fun. It's persistent genital arousal disorder, and that's the people who just can't stop coming.
Oh,
like they're like walking down the aisle at the grocery store and have an orgasm, and they've just got to like ride it out until it's over, and then they keep walking.
Yeah. That's one of those things that sounds great, and then it actually happens, and you're like, no, I don't want this all the time.
Yeah. Let's see. The people unfamiliar with the syndrome routinely imagine that the condition must be an enviable one.
Yeah.
But it's really not. Somebody it also gets referred to as restless genital syndrome sometimes, which is it's been compared to RLS, restless leg syndrome, and in that it's like a similar, like even if you try to not come, like you try to not move your legs, you're going to.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the treatments can be similar.
Oh,
like the same. Like a lot of depression and anxiety medications help with restless leg syndrome as well as with this coming all the time thing. The second though is wet dreams, which we didn't talk about that, but like waking up orgasming because of whatever it was that you were dreaming about. Some people apparently like don't have the sexy dream part. They just wake up and they're coming, which that's interesting. But the third is just using their brain. There's conscious intent, and people can make themselves come hands free just using their brain.
Oh, I've seen the videos of this.
Yeah?
Yeah. There's like a like a lumberjack kind of guy that just can like, he's just doing something like chopping wood and then he comes, or does a pull up and then he comes.
There's also that. Exercise-induced orgasm is totally a thing. And that's, I guess, related to like nerve stuff.
In the Patreon bonus segment, we're going to talk about both tips for a better orgasm and tips on how to fake an orgasm.
Yeah, we are.
But one of the tips for better orgasm is to exercise, which I got annoyed at.
Boo.
I know, right?
Stupid.
Yeah.
Exercise is dumb. I'm done with that.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to say that like there's apparently there's like orgasm ninjas who can just like think their way to coming. And
man, that might be nice.
Also, it's a reflex. So people who are quadriplegic and can't even feel their genitals can still have orgasms sometimes.
Oh.
And that's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Okay. Did you have more?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. So I have the last thing that I'll bring up then is fun euphemisms for orgasm.
Okay.
In the 1570s, in English, we would say, instead of get off, we would say bring off.
Huh.
I don't know. In the 1880s, they would say blow your lump.
I don't like my penis being referred to as a lump.
Yeah. Well,
Or as lump the jizz.
and it's a little too close to blowing chunks, right? Like
Yeah, that's true.
In the 1590s, they would say cleave the pin.
Huh.
To cleave the pin, the theory is that the reason they said that is because old-timey clothespins had two legs, and that when you would spread it too far, it would crack in the middle and it would cleave. Mm-hmm. But that, like, basically getting split open is what they're
hot. I like that one.
The 1920s, they would say kick the beam. The theory there is that you're having sex in a barn, right? Or like really like thrashing around.
Oh, okay.
Having a crazy orgasm. In the 1600s, they would say break your arrow.
Ow.
Yeah. Yeah. In the 1880s, they would say that they gave you the short shoves.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Huh.
The 1740s called it the let go. The little death in French, the petit mort.
You've told me about that before because I recognize that.
Yeah.
But why is that?
I don't know. In French, just having an orgasm is like a little death. Like you're dead.
Huh.
It was used as a slang or pun for orgasm in poetry and plays from the medieval period. And I guess it's kind of like a little death. Like you go away somewhere for a while.
I guess so.
So there's a bunch in here that aren't great. Like the hard strokes in 1830s. The 1620s, they said you would melt, which I don't know. Late 1500s, they called it fadings. The 1870s was let one's juice out. Let your juice. The 1920s, for a little bit, called it a crisis.
I'm going to go have a little crisis.
In 1920s, it was crack your marbles. Now, that's all like English euphemisms, but then there's a bunch of other things that people say in other languages that are kind of funny to me. So a lot of languages just have the word orgasm, right? Mm-hmm. It's orgasm in Turkish, it's orgasmo in Portuguese, Spanish, and Italian, orgasma in Japanese. It all comes from the Greek orgasmos, which means excitement or swelling. Now, then some other languages, though, in Bengali, the translation is drastic excitement.
Oh.
In Farsi or Persian, it's satisfaction is happening. In Vietnamese, it's extreme pleasure. But then some of the other ones that are worth talking about, 9 languages used expressions like I'm going or I'm ending. In Tagalog, it's I'm finishing or exiting.
I'm finishing. Okay, we got that.
Yeah. Mandarin Chinese has I'm shooting.
Ooh, there you
go. Finnish thinks orgasm is a fire. They say now I'm the fire, or I am fire. I am fire.
Huh.
Tagalog has a similar thing. They have getting warm, or I'm making warmth. And in Czech they say I will be.
Wow, very just definitive.
Yeah. Anyway, it's interesting. Somebody had made the point that we actually have less terms for orgasm than like any other thing. Like you can name probably off of your off the top of your head 10 different ways to say penis in English, or vagina in English, or butt in English. But orgasm, it's like get off, the big O, come. Like there's a limited, it's way more limited, and not exactly sure why that is, but it's not just English that's that way. Lots of other languages have similar, like a limited number of ways to say it.
Yeah, I think we're better at talking about dicks and butts. Like there are jokes, like comedians would talk about dicks and butts and stuff all the time, but I don't think they would make many orgasm jokes.
Yeah.
Like that's not a thing I would think of happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe because it's a feeling instead of a thing. It's a verb instead of a noun.
We make it so it's embarrassing to talk about,
Maybe.
even though it's natural.
Although we definitely have a lot of euphemisms for jerking off. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's true.
Anyway.
Huh.
Did we do it? Did we shoot our load?
Orgasms aren't necessarily gay. We found out from the Gayda, but they are male
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
lesbian.
Yeah.
At least stereotypically, because they're more likely to have them. Yeah, and they're more complex than I thought.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not just for dudes, but we're, I guess, have an easier time or something. I don't know.
Do you have orgasm? You and I both said we don't always orgasm when we have sex, which is unique. I wonder why that is.
Well, for me, it's usually because I've been drinking.
Oh,
And there were definitely when I was on Lexapro, getting there was rough.
I've had medications where like coming, it's just like this takes so much effort.
Yeah, and not being on Lexapro anymore has really helped a ton in that department. I also think that like sometimes maybe it's stress, but if I get up in my head and worry about it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I definitely get to this point where I just recognize for myself, like, this isn't going to work. So I do what I can to help whoever I'm with, and then try to make them feel better about me not coming. And,
Yeah. Because they think it's a reflection on their performance, or they can.
Yeah.
Which it's not, often not.
It's hard not to take responsibility for your partner's orgasm.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't.
Right.
Like, we need to normalize being able to say, hey, I'm not going to come, but like, I'm happy to help you if you can or will. And believing that person when they say that back to you.
Yeah.
And there are lots of reasons that somebody could maybe not orgasm that they're not into you.
Right.
Right?
I often, when I bottom, I often don't orgasm.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Sometimes I prepare people for that ahead of time. Like, I say things like no recip, or like words, I don't know. Or sometimes they just don't seem to care because all we talked about was like them fucking me and getting off. But yeah, it's pretty common for me not to have an orgasm. That's okay. It's still a lot of fun, and I enjoy what I'm doing, and I want to do it. So it's not a bad thing.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with being proud of your craft, Kyle.
Yeah.
Now did we do it?
Yeah, I think so.
We're going to take a break and I don't know.
Talk about tips.
Yeah, tips. Just the tips.
Just the tips.
Let's take a break.
Break.
This is the part where Mike and Kyle take a break. Are we back?
We're back.
We're back.
You just got some tips on how to fake an orgasm. I think you need to read that article a little more.
Yeah, that was not good.
No.
But I also didn't know I was going to do that bit until it started happening.
Maybe we should have got that in dress.
Yeah.
Let's do our Gayest and
We're
Straightest.
going to do our Gayest and Straightest, but first, our website is gayishpodcast.com.
We are on social media at Gayish Podcast.
Our hotline, you can send us text messages or leave us voicemails, especially if it's your Gayest and Straightest. It's 5855-GAYISH. That's 585-542-9474. Standard rates apply.
Our email is gayishpodcast@gmail.com.
Our physical mailing address is Post Office Box 19882, Seattle, Washington, 98109. Also, don't forget to send in your the podcast that ... Like, we've gotten so many.
We've gotten so many submissions.
Not all of them are great, but most of them are lovely.
Some are. So I appreciate your help with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Gayest and Straightest?
I guess.
Okay.
This feels sudden.
Okay. Do you want to
like an orgasm? Sometimes they sneak up on you.
I'll go.
Okay.
My gayest is I went to Steamworks this weekend.
Did you?
Yeah.
You're holding info out on me and like
in a regular friendship.
Yeah, making me hear things on the podcast. Yeah. I love it.
I feel like an old man. It's too dark in there.
It's too dark in there. It's too loud. Everybody's naked.
Well,
they're not showing Bob's Burgers.
So many complaints. It's so expensive. Yeah. I just felt like it was.
It's 2 blocks from here, and you didn't tell me. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I do not
as a warning. Yeah, if you're there, get the fuck out.
Like there can only be one Kyle.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Good. Well, you heard it here, listeners. You can find Kyle at Steamworks sometimes.
Yeah, rarely. And then my straightest is watching the Mariners game at Deluxe.
Oh wow. Okay, it kept going.
Yeah.
Deluxe is pretty straight, right?
Yeah.
Despite the bartender?
Despite the bartender, I think it's a pretty straight place to go.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's a block away from me, so.
Yeah. Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Who won?
I forget.
You watched it very closely.
I know. I watched it, but then my memory just eviscerates information it doesn't think it needs, which is everything.
Power vocab, though.
Sure.
The gayest thing about me this week is boyfriend and I are going to a wedding in Jacksonville, and we shopped for suits together.
Ooh,
it was the most adorable. Like, I think you'd look good in this. Why don't you try this one on? Oh, you're so handsome.
And you had a great time.
Gay.
Yeah.
And then the straightest thing about me this week was had everybody over for a game night on Wednesday and just ordered a shitload of fried ass food.
Yeah.
That was the straightest.
Yeah, totally.
Korean barbecue, Korean fried chicken and fries and more Korean fried chicken and fried cheese balls.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, it was delicious.
Straight boy food, though.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we have a listener's Gayest and Straightest this week. It's from Noah from Washington, D.C. Let's hear what he has to say.
Hey, Mike and Kyle. This is Noah from Washington, D.C., or as you called it, the shittiest swampland to pick for a capital, which is accurate. Anyway, I have a gayest and straightest. My gayest is that my housemates and I threw a pool party for 700 gays over the 4th of July in Rehoboth, Delaware. And that pool water was just hot gay soup by the end of it. My straightest is that I used a staple gun for the first time to help set up for the party. I love the show, and thanks for giving me something to look forward to each week. Okay, bye.
Hot gay soup.
Hot gay soup sounds delicious.
No.
When are they going to serve it near me?
No.
Yes.
No.
Bring that to my mouth.
No, give it to Kyle. I don't want it. And staple guns. That's, for sure.
Yeah.
Congrats, Noah.
Yeah.
Well done.
Way to go.
Enjoy the swamp.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Thank you to everybody who came today.
Oh, man. Do you think someone came while listening to this?
I hope so.
I hope so, too.
I wish that
if
we could...
If not, there's still time.
I wish we could somehow have, like, a count, like a clock that would just update. If anytime somebody has an orgasm while listening to us, that we would just get a notification or something.
Yeah.
I know that it's unreasonable to expect that, but I would love it.
But I want it.
Yeah.
Derek will get on it when he's back. When he's back in the office. I also want to thank our super gap bridgers. Thank you to Locomotive, Kaylee Adams, Kit Oliver, Kobe Gordon, Squoggle, Pip, Andrew Bugby, William Bryant, John Carley, Yost Osel, Jonathan Montanius, Forrest Nail, Steve Douglas, Explosive Lasagna, Michael Covington, Just Jamie, Thomas B, Dusty Sands, A. Coleman, Chris Cacciatorians, and Jerome York. Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your money. That's it. This has been Gayish from the Chris Cacciatorian Studios. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz. Until next week, be butch, be fabulous, be you. See ya.
See you next week.